Good morning, Veritas. Today is Monday, May 4th, 2020. I hope everybody's doing well. Let's get started with our math problems for today. We got 3 problems. If you look on your Google Classroom, these are them, so pause as you need to while we go over these problems. Okay, so let's start right away with number 1. It says, which choices do not represent the sum of 23 and 3/12 and 18 and 3/4? Choose all that apply. Okay, so which choices do not represent the sum of these two numbers? So we need to choose the wrong answers. So I'm going to write that in big letters right there. And I'm going to write it over here on my workspace. And I'll know what that means. I'm choosing the wrong answers. It says which choices do not represent the sum of these two numbers. So the correct answer is not going to be the one we choose. We're going to choose the one that is actually wrong. We're going to choose the one that does not represent the sum of these two numbers. Okay, so sum, this is a word that is very important to know. We've practiced this a little bit. A sum is the answer to an addition problem. So we got to find the wrong answers, which ones do not get you to the right answer when you add these two numbers. So if we look at these numbers, it's 23 in a fraction plus 18 in a fraction. So 23 wholes plus 18 wholes is up in the 40s, right? 23 plus 10 is 33 plus 8 more gets you around 41, maybe 42, depending on these fractions. So we can already go ahead and say that the two of the ones that do not represent the correct answer are going to be 5 and a half and 4 and a half. Because when you add these two numbers, they're going to be 40-something. So if you didn't know that sum meant add, then you might have subtracted and you might have gotten those answers. But those do not represent the correct answer, A and B. Now we got to decide which other one does not represent the correct answer. So now we got to actually do the addition. 23 and 3/12. We're finding the sum, so we're adding 18 and 3/4. Okay? So we cannot just add these fractions yet. We got 12ths and we got fourths. Those are not the same size pieces. They're not the same denominator. Okay, so we got to make them so that they're the same denominator before we can go ahead and add those fractions. So we're going to turn the smaller one into 12. That way they'll be the same denominator and we'll be able to add them. So 4 times 3 is 12. So we're going to multiply 3 times the same number. 3 times 3 is 9/12. Because what we really did here was we multiplied 3/4 times 3/3, 3 over 3, which is really equal to 1. So we're just making an equivalent fraction. We didn't really change 3/4. We're just multiplying both of these by 3 or by 3/3, and that's going to get us 9/12. So 3/4 and 9/12 are equivalent. So they're the same thing, but we're going to call it 9/12. That way we can add it to those 3/12. Okay, so 3/12 plus 9/12 makes 12/12. That's equal to 1 whole. And let's do 23 plus 18. 8 plus 3 is 11. 2, 3, 4. So we have 41 and 12/12, or 41 plus 1, which is 42. So the correct answer to this problem is 42. So that's the one that we are not going to choose. Because it says, which choices do not represent the sum of these two? And since this does represent the sum, that's not one of the correct answers. So the correct answers for this one are A, B, and C for number 1. If you got that wrong, you might have gotten tripped up here. You got to read really, really carefully for what the question is asking you to do. Okay, but if you got A, B, and C, give yourself some snaps. Nice work on that one. And let's get right over to number 2. Okay, so I flipped my paper over. I got plenty of space here. I'm going to organize my work. Part A says find the difference between 16 and 68 hundredths, 0.68. So the tricky part about this is that 16 has a decimal point after the ones place. So there's the tens place, the ones place, and then the decimal point goes there. We're finding the difference, so that means that we are subtracting, because the difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So we're going to subtract 16 and 0.68. The trouble is with 0.68, when we go to subtract, you can't just put the 6 and the 8 under here because it's not 68, right? It's 68 hundredths. So the decimal point has to be lined up with this decimal point. And then there's a 6 in the tens place and an 8 tenths place and an 8 in the hundredths place. So next to 16, we're going to hold those places with zeros because there's 0 tenths and there's 0 hundredths. Okay? Now we're going to subtract. So we have 16.00 minus 0.68. We're going to leave the decimal point right where it belongs, and we're going to subtract. You can't do 0 minus 8. If I had 0 hundredths, I can't take 8 hundredths away. Can't do it. So you're going to borrow from this. But we're going to subtract across 0. You can't just turn that to a 9. You have to continue going across the zeros until you get to a whole number. Because you can't just if we just turn that to a 9, then we really would have been adding 9 tenths to this problem. So what we're doing is we're just trading. We're taking 1 from here, we're adding 9 to here, and the original one becomes a 10. Okay, go back to earlier videos if you're confused about this, but this is going to still be the same value as 16, right? That's 15 plus 9 tenths plus 10 hundredths, which is the same thing if you add them all up as 16. So we're just borrowing. Can't do 0 minus 8, so this one comes 9, and you take 1 away from that. Then you do 10 minus 8 is 2, 9 minus 6 is 3, and then we have 15 minus nothing is 15. So it's 15.32. That is the answer to part A. 15.32. That is the difference between 16 and 0.68. Okay, now it says part B, round your answer from part A to the nearest whole number. So is this closer to 15 or is it closer to 16? So if we make a number line here, and here's 15 and here's 16, right in the middle would be 15 and a half, or 15.5, 15 and 5 tenths would be halfway, right? So if it was 15.32, that would be less than 15.5. It would be over here somewhere, right? So basically this question's saying, is 15.32, is it closer to 15 or is it closer to the next whole number of 16? And if you look at this number, since it's less than half, since it's less than 0.5 here, it's actually closer to 15. Okay, it would have to go all the way this far to get to 16, but to get to 15, it's only this far away. So the nearest whole number for part B is 15. There should be no decimal there, just 15. That's a whole number. Okay, closer to 15 than it is to the next whole number, which is 16. Okay, give yourself some snaps if you got that. Nice job. That was pretty tricky. You need to know this word's difference is subtraction. Okay, and last one, some order of operations. We got to be really careful with these and make sure that we go in the correct order. So we've learned this little PEMDAS, is what I learned when I was a kid. But really, we're doing the parentheses first, then the exponents, then multiplication and division, whichever one comes first left to right. Then addition and subtraction comes after the multiplication and division. And that's what's really important here, is that this comes first, before the addition and subtraction. Okay? So, let's work from left to right. The reason that we do it in this order is because the parentheses are going to give us the biggest amount of change, and the addition and subtraction is going to give us the least amount of change, right? Because addition and subtraction, multiplication and division is repeated addition or repeated subtraction. So the multiplication and division is going to make a bigger impact on the final answer. So we're going to do that first before we're going to do the addition and subtraction. So we do the things first that are going to make the biggest impact on our final answer. So that's why we are going to do it like that. So let's start with this parentheses. We got two parentheses, so we know we're going to solve inside before we do this addition. Okay, but what's difficult here is you're not going to do 6 plus 24 first, because order of operations is telling us before any addition and subtraction, we're going to do the multiplication and division. So first we're actually going to do 24 divided by 3, which is 8. And then we're going to keep the 6 here. We're going to do 6 plus 8 plus, let's do this side. 32 minus 5, that's subtraction. We're not doing that yet. We're going to do the multiplication here first. 5 times 4 is 20. So for this side, we have to do 32 minus 20. All we did so far is the division here and the multiplication here. Now we're going to add, we're going to subtract, then we're going to add them together because we still have to do these parentheses first. So 6 plus 18 is, or 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 32 minus 20 is 12, because 12 plus 20 is 32. 14 plus 12 is 26. And that is the answer to this problem. So there's a good chance you got this one wrong, because most of you, I'm thinking, did 30 divided by 3, but you can't do the addition before you do this division. You have to do 24 divided by 3 first, then add 6. You don't do 6 plus 24 is 30 divided by 3 is 10. That's not right. You got to do it this way first. The division comes first, then we do the addition. Same thing over here. If you did 32 minus 5, you probably would have gotten stuck. Or you would have said 27 times 4, and that would have given you the wrong answer. You got to be real careful that you're doing multiplication, then you do the addition and subtraction. The answer is 26. Okay, so those are the right answers for today. Pause here, and please go back and rewind this video as much times as you need to. But give yourself some snaps. Nice work today. Please submit your assignment. It should be correct by the time you submit it. Unless you're really having trouble, then I want you to let me know, and I will help you to find the right answer. All right, that's it. Hope everybody has a great day. Take care.